Welcome, everybody. This is Buck Jarvie with the Wealth Formula Podcast. And, of course, today's Friday. And, last week we did a little quote from Warren Buffett. You can always tell someone to go to hell tomorrow, which I think might actually be one of my favorite quotes of all time. But here's another quote for you. You are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. And that's from C.S. Lewis. And it's actually a very good one because, listen, we've all been there. You hit a certain point in life, maybe after a big milestone, maybe after a birthday, like a 50th birthday, and suddenly the thought creeps into your mind. Is this it? Was that all she wrote? Has my story been written, and is it too late to start a new one? Well, here's the reality. And this is absolutely 100% true. You are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. It's not just a feel-good statement. I promise you that. It's the truth. You see, the limits we think we face as we get older, those roadblocks that say you're too far along to change or you've invested too much time to pivot, they're not real. I mean, listen, of course, this was a little earlier in my life, but I was still not, I was still in my 40s. I did 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, 7 years of postgraduate training in medicine. Then I practiced for about 7 years and decided I wanted to go another way entirely. You see, it can be done. The mental barriers we've created are they're based on fear. They're based on comfort issues. And, of course, financial constraints, which are very real. But remember, and pay attention here, age isn't the issue, right? If you want to shift gears, reinvent yourself, or take something on completely new, the time to start is now, right? I mean, listen, Bill Gates has a great quote that fits perfectly. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 5. 5 years is a long, long time. I mean, it really is. I'm telling you from my personal experience, it's just remarkable. There was a period of 5 years that I had where all of my business activity, everything I was doing to earn income was, that transitioned entirely to new businesses and new sources of income in 5 years. And there was none of the old stuff at all. 5 years, right? It is incredible. You can completely transform yourself, your career, your life. Think about it. I mean, medical school only took me 4 years, and by the end of it, I'd become a completely different person, right? New skill set, completely different knowledge base altogether and perspective on life. And that just took 4 years. The point is, if you want to take a major pivot, you have the time. Most people just get hung up on the idea that, change has to be immediate, and then you start thinking about, well, gosh, this is going to take so long. I mean, listen, look at look all these guys who started tech companies, right? Mark Zuckerberg. I think he was in his teens when he started Facebook. The guy was, he was only around for so long, right? I mean, maybe that company took him like 4 years to go from 0 to $1 billion. I mean, gosh, there's just none of this stuff takes a huge amount of time. And if you look back in your own life too, I bet you can identify periods of 2 to 3 years at a time where there was huge amounts of growth, right? It didn't happen over gradual 15 years. Maybe you had 2 or 3 years of rapid growth. Then everything was kind of the same for 4 years. And then boom, rapid growth. That's the way it works. The bottom line is if you start something brand new today, just imagine where you could be in 5 years, right? I mean, there's all the opportunity in the world to do that. There's some serious psychology behind this idea of setting new goals, right? And we've talked about that a little bit before. It's not just about hitting a milestone. It's about the process of working towards something meaningful that keeps us engaged and motivated. So there's a psychologist, Edwin Locke, who developed the goal-setting theory, and he found that setting clear, challenging goals drives motivation, performance in a way that vague or easy goals simply can't. But here's the twist. It's not the end goal that gives you the biggest boost. It's the act of pursuing it. Every time you make progress, your brain rewards you with dopamine. That's that feel-good chemical that keeps you pushing forward. That's what makes people who are goal-oriented and doing new things really get excited and not feel like kind of old. That's why you feel energized, when you're working on something meaningful and frustrated when you're going through the motions. And that's true whether you're 25, 50, or 75. Your brain wants you to keep growing, learning, and setting new goals, no matter your age. Now, there's also something called end of history illusion. It's the cognitive bias, and this might be familiar to you or, like people right? It makes people believe their lives won't change much in the future. Who they are now is who they will always be. That's something I definitely don't have because I've been kind of a chameleon. Is that people that you know? Here's a reality. You're capable of evolving, growing, becoming someone completely new at any point in your life. The only thing stopping you is that belief that it's too late. And it doesn't take as long as you think. And I can't emphasize that enough. Making a big pivot doesn't take as long as you think. Yes, it feels daunting when you're standing at the starting line, but once you begin, the process moves faster than you realize. So you've probably heard these stories before, but I'll tell you them again. Ray Kroc didn't get involved with McDonald's until his 50s. Julia Child didn't learn how to cook until she was almost 40 and didn't publish her first cookbook until she was 50. Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC until he was in his 60s. These people didn't just shift gears. They built entire new empires and identities later in life. And if that's what you want, you can do it too. Why not you? Why not you? This ties directly into a psychological concept called, of course, growth mindset. You might have heard this before. My kids have it in their school. They're always talking about growth mindset, Daddy. And it was developed by Carol Dweck. People with a growth mindset believe they can develop their skills, intelligence, and abilities over time, regardless of their starting point. They don't see age or experience as limitations. And on the flip side, people with a fixed mindset think that their qualities are set in stone. They can't learn new things, and they're stuck with the hand they've been dealt. So here's the good news. You can adopt a growth mindset at any age. Your brain has neuroplasticity. Remember, as a former neurosurgery resident, I can tell you what that means. It means that these brain cells, they get new connections constantly, right? It's constantly something that you can do is to grow the connections between your brain cells and learn new things throughout your life. So no, you're not too old. You're not too old. You can pick up a new skill, a dream, whatever. The only question really is, what do you want to do next, right? And maybe you haven't even thought of that. Maybe you need to think about that, right? Of course, the elephant in the room is where this show is really kind of focused, and that's finances. For most people, it's not the age that limits their ability to change course. It's financial obligations. You got a mortgage. You got a family to support, right? Maybe kids heading off to college. How are you supposed to chase a new dream when the bills don't stop coming in? Well, let's be real. This is a legitimate concern, but here's the thing. Wealth creation isn't just about buying stuff, right? That's not what we're at this for. It's about getting freedom, to stop trading time for money and focus on the things that truly matter. Think about this. What are the things you'll look back to at the end of your life on your deathbed and proud of? It's not going to be the car you bought, the gadgets you collected. It's going to be about the time you spent with the loved ones, the passion projects you pursued, and the risks you took to live on your terms, right? And that includes being who you ultimately want to be. And that's why part of building wealth isn't about accumulating material goods. It's really about creating the financial flexibility to make choices that align with your values, right? So maybe you need to figure out what you need to do to get to a place financially that frees up your time. Maybe that's what you really need to do. But, listen, a lot of people have some time. Even if you can't quit your day job, so to speak, you can start doing other stuff. Listen, when I started podcasting, I was still a practicing surgeon. I just knew I'd start podcasting and it would turn into something. And next thing you know, it turned into its own business, really, and then multiple businesses. You got to start somewhere. You got to do it. Every time I've looked back and the start of something new that I started doing, The regret that I always have is, gosh, why didn't I start that when I first thought about it instead of 2 years later or 3 years later? Okay. And listen, anyway, point is, listen, you've got to move towards what it is that you want to do, and it's not too late. As far as the financial part, listen, you can always make more money. When you've spent the time, it's gone forever. The more you can detach your income from the hours you work physically, the more freedom you'll have to focus on what matters the most. So focus on that. Start thinking about things that you really want to do in your life, whether that's professionally, career-wise, or something completely different. Maybe you really want to be an artist. Maybe you really want to. Maybe you want to be a stand-up comedian. Who knows? That's a real secret to wealth creation. It's about buying back your own time and just, doing all these things you want to do. The message really is simple. It's never too late to start again. Like, be 30, 40, 60, I don't care. You can always set a new goal, learning a new skill, pursue a new dream. Age is not the limiting factor, so don't blame it. The real barriers are mental and financial, and those are surmountable if you identify them and figure out a plan. With the right mindset, a clear plan, and a focus on building financial independence, you can transform your life. That's it for this week. Have a nice weekend.